Hello and welcome back, everyone, to a Rocket Rabbit commentary, specifically a movie commentary. And because it is Halloween, we've decided to do a thriller movie. Well, thriller, drama,
Thriller.
suspense, that kind of thing.
Because it's
Um,
thriller.
a classic suspense movie, specifically, mostly because of the drama around it. Fight Club. Now,
Fight
there are those of
Club.
you in the comments that are like, Fight Club is none of those things, and I argue against that. It uses a lot of thriller and suspenseful cinematography throughout it, and it made sense because we wanted to pick out something that we've both seen, something that's thematically appropriate, and something that's relatively easy to commentate on because of how well it flows. So, Fight Club fits. Mwaha.
Well, you say it's easy to commentate over because of how easily it flows, and I do agree that this is a very flowy movie, which is one of the reasons why it is one of Moviedom's most beloved films, considering that it did only come out 25 years ago, as of this recording date. That is. It also has a lot of dialogue, narration, and we don't have subtitles on this movie. So it's good that our commentators, Cloud Mr. Gerdat and myself, Cloud, are both familiar with what the characters are saying, what's happening at any given moment.
And there are a lot of tangents in the movie that we can comment that we can react with. So there's that too.
So, Fight Club is based on the 1995 novel by Chuck, but I'm going to butcher his last name, Palahniuk. And the movie had gotten green-lighted for big screen production within 6 years of publication. And even Chuck, the author, who had republished Fight Club, a post-movie release edition, if you will, told an anecdote about how Chuck Palahniuk is a very kinky guy. I think he was at like some kind of strip club where a dude with a cowboy hat had hogtied him and was dragging him along the floor. And Chuck struck up a conversation with this fella, say, "Hey, you know the movie Fight Club?" And the guy said, "Yeah." And then Chuck said, "I wrote the book that movie's based on." And the dude said, "No way." And they also asked Chuck's opinion as to how the penguin looks, the power animal that occurs within the first 15 minutes of the movie. So I said, "Yeah, I like how they did the penguin."
Okay.
And also that I read the book Fight Club only after I had seen the movie. So I saw that the movie is largely, and I do stress, largely faithful to the plot, including the narration aspects. That a lot of the lines that Edward Norton, the narrator, recites during the film are actually taken directly from the book. It doesn't make a lot of serious deviations. I do applaud the film for coming up with a better ending to the story of Fight Club than even the original author had intended. The ending of Fight Club, the book, was a little vague, a little strange. It wasn't quite as dramatic and climactic. Honestly, the movie equivalent I can think of would be Peter Benchley, who wrote Jaws, who did not have the shark explode at the end of the movie, while Steven Spielberg said, "No, put a gas can in his mouth, shoot a gun at it, and then Hollywood special effects." I like the movie ending better for Fight Club, and we hope you all enjoy, with a premise of spoiler alerts that part of the magic of Fight Club the book and Fight Club the movie is that there is a major plot twist, and movie synopsis of Fight Club the movie are wont to mentioning you should appreciate this film as it is unspoiled. If you do not want us to spoil the movie because you haven't seen it before, then we suggest that you go see the movie yourself away from this, because the movie is not contained in this video. It's just us talking over it with images.
Right.
Now is the time. And we're going to wait 5 seconds for those viewers to go find a film.
Do 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 do.
Okay, time's up. You're in spoiler land now.
All right. I, however, have not actually read the book tied to this movie, so maybe Mr. Cloud will be able to give the differences between the narratives, spoilers for us.
Absolutely.
Awesome. We are starting before the 20th Century Fox logo, so If you've got your own DVD copies, that is where we are trying to start.
Sweet.
Are we ready, Mr. Cloud?
Yes, sir.
Count us
Are
down.
you ready there in Movie Land before we do the countdown?
I'm ready.
I know you're ready, Mr. Gerdat. I'm pointing at you. Are you ready for an awesome commentary experience? Good. All right. We got this. All aboard, and here comes the countdown. 3, 2, 1. Press play. Ba-da-dum-bum, ba-da-dum-bum, ba-da-da-da-da-dum-bum. Yeah, to think that this is one of the final movies that 20th Century Fox did in the 20th century.
They had at least 10 to 20 movies come out after this, because you said that this was 98.
98, 99. This movie was nominated. It was nominated for an Oscar. As obscure, strange, and bizarre the events of this film, it did actually get an Oscar nod. Unfortunately, it came out in the same year as The Matrix, and The Matrix stole the Oscar for editing that year by being a freaking amazingly edited, computer-generated, and practical effect-driven movie.
Hey, Edward Norton.
And here we are observing the synapses inside the human brain, as this movie, Fight Club, is a wonderful exploration of the human psyche as it relates to the assumptions of our modern-day human civilized lives.
You know, I'm recognizing a lot more of these names than I thought I would.
This is a David Fincher directed movie, music by the Dust Brothers. David Fincher went on. So this is succeeding his earlier psychological thriller masterpiece, Seven, and well before he did. And there's based on the novel by Chuck Palahniuk, and then David Fincher went on to direct the Curious Case of Benjamin Button in the 2000s,
which I have not seen.
Sweat, because we're fighting, and fighting makes you sweat.
Except we're not fighting, Mr. Cloud. Remember, we are sitting.
And this is how the novel begins: a man with a gun in his mouth. It's a good kicker, if you will, saying, "Well, how did this come about?"
As opposed to this theater of minor destruction.
Already, from the intro to this brief montage showing you the terrorist plot, with bombs rigged at the bottom in the basements of buildings. But why? How?
Whoosh! Hey, Bob.
The humor aspect is already ramping up. I mean, we're supposed to feel bad for these gentlemen because they're at a testicular cancer seminar, but yeah, this scene is supposed to make you laugh. I mean, bitch tits is not a way to describe somebody gently with sympathy.
Right.
And this is Meatloaf in one of many cinematic appearances made by the singer-songwriter.
So Meatloaf plays Bob?
Yep, he plays
okay.
Bob, and I think I'm pretty sure he wore a fat suit in order to pull off the bitch tits effect.
Okay.
The movie is a little janky in the beginning. It wants to get you used to the pace of flickering images, and also these brief little non sequitur montages where now we're just looking through a galaxy of garbage in a trash can. The brand logo and everything. Because the narrator is suffering from insomnia, and insomnia will screw with a person's perceptions of
Specifically of time and place.
time, place, continuity, fluency of events, and also perpetual physical exhaustion.
Because it is the 90s, and the best way to categorize mental deficiencies are by directly addressing them.
And they also use a lot of porno-themed music deliberately, especially the part that Edward Norton is sitting on a toilet looking at an IKEA magazine as though he's reading Hustler.
$600 for a coat rack, man. Why the fuck would you ever spend $600 for a coat rack?
Because it is the transference of one's earnings and one's potential as a person into a coffee table. Your call is important to us. Like, how did we get here? We were just in his apartment. Now we're in a doctor's office.
No, well, again, as this scene is attempting to establish, Edward Norton here has got a combination of what he believes is insomnia and narcolepsy, and it's fucking all over his perception of self.
In his eyes. My God. Looks like he hasn't slept in weeks. Yeah, the images are popping up more often.
Shh, you're not supposed to directly address them.
Well, you're supposed to definitely acknowledge, yeah, there's got to be a connection. We spent the first 5 minutes of this movie talking about how this guy's suffering from sleep disorder. Now, our self-named Cornelius, the first mention of any name attributed to this character, is starting to see things. And thanks to this slow pan-out shot of people talking continuously, we could tell, yeah, this is actually happening, and we should treat this as canon. They're still men, Mr. Gerdat.
They are. They are attempting to express their pains in order to relieve the stressors of those pains.
Especially the pain of not having balls anymore. They've been riddled with cancer. Flashing image number 3. I like how you can't. You could definitely tell it's a man, but you can't. You don't get to see the image long enough to tell who it is.
You can see his hair.
I mean, when you're playing this in a movie theater, I'm sure when this movie came out in theaters, it was a wonderful experience. It's very meta. With this, you can really see the size of Big Bob's nipples through his shirt there.
Yep.
That this movie at times also pokes fun at just going to the movies in the first place.
It does.
Because you can't hit the pause button when you're watching a feature motion picture. You have to wait until you get it on DVD.
Or VHS, because it was the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. Or in this case, VHS. And there's Bob, squeezing the life out of me with his gigantic, godlike feminine tits. It's like, no.
Now, I've never actually been addicted to catharsis like this, but I do believe I totally buy that this is a thing. This is a thing that people could get addicted to.
Oh yeah, and that's why it very quickly goes on to include other people who also are addicted to catharsis, to that great tearful emotional release of stress. So, problem? Resolution? Question mark.
Oh, well, treatment.
And we say resolution question mark or treatment because this guy has a new problem on his hands. Is now he can't stay away from these groups, and he's a liar.
Also, they have coffee.
It's like, I don't know you, but I love you.
Coffee and donuts.
Tea, quarters. So just in case anybody needed to clear the air, yes, this film does take place inside the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I am led to believe that it actually is closer to the Seattle area because that's where Chuck lived and originally published his novel.
You say that, but the whole climax of the movie that we've already had spoiled to us involves us, taking down a finance sector, and I don't really think that we would actually, because it's the '90s, store a large amount of finance data in Seattle. I would think that it would be more appropriate to store to where we have a high concentration of, other finance institutions, which is why I think that this movie is supposed to take place in Lower New York.
Well, I think it might lead one to confuse the industry, the buildings that they line up to explode with, like the stock exchange, Wall Street, which is different. You're supposed to keep in the back of your head like a lot of gunk that we collect and accumulate in our lives. The introduction to the movie, the bomb plot. Now we're trying to connect the dots saying, well, what the hell does this guy going to seminars and getting off on other people's misery have to do with a terrorist plot to blow up buildings?
Mm. Hey, Marla.
How dare she lie to these men by pretending to have balls? I mean, that she's pretending to no longer have balls. And you can see that the narrator is wearing different name tags. Like a number of things that become revealed as the movie goes on, you don't know conclusively that Edward Norton's character has no genuine name until you see the credits.
Right.
When you realize, I've been watching this movie for 2 hours, yet I don't think I ever learned what this guy's name is. I just know his face and his voice. Yeah, there's the flashing image again. It's staying on screen longer and longer every time.
Direct.
The hair club for men. It's beautiful. Oh yeah, Chloe. Chloe is an invention of the movie. She was not a character in the original book.
And she doesn't really serve that big of a purpose. She's mostly here as a transition into our next scene.
Well, you say she's not important. Not a lot of characters die in this movie. As violent and aggressive and
we don't see
explosive
Chloe
as
die.
You're right, she dies off screen. The characters have to explain that she succumbs to her brain cancer, which is why during this scene she makes her great cinematic-driven plea for somebody to come to her house and have sex with her. It's all right, Chloe. We'll save your borderline extreme horniness for another time. Let's shake it off and go summon our power animal.
Now, if I was going to have a tumor, I don't think I'd actually want to give it a name because that personalizes it, makes it more real, you know?
I'm a tumor, I'm a tumor. I'm a tumor, I'm a tumor, I'm a tumor. Oh, 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 I'm a tumor. Rupert. Oh, I would love to have Helena Bonham Carter 1998 as my power animal.
It's kind of weird that this is Helena. I mean, her physical attributes are still very much tied to Helena Bonham Carter, but her performance has become much more exaggerated from here on out for the rest of her acting career.
She's this is one of her darker characters.
True.
Given darkness, more than the Queen of Hearts and Alice in Wonderland, because this is real. Like this is not like fantasy or musical theater drama. This is like this is one of her more human characters that she plays, and which again you have to give credence to the stretch that she makes, because Marla Singer is a freaking she's a head case. Like being in the grips of one's lies. Now we find that the narrator is in the grips of his worst enemy. So you keep up the lie, and I'll keep up the lie. Got that? All right.
Oh, look, they have something in common.
Oh, they have a lot in common, as we'll come to find out. They're both fucking crazy by many standards of craziness. Like being like, how about pathologically lying? Say one of the more impressive aspects of Helena Bonham Carter's performance is that she is actually of English, not American origin. I suppose the reason why they keep letting a woman into a testicular cancer seminar is because she probably made some bullshit story up about how her boyfriend or husband or brother is suffering from testicular cancer, and she needs to know how to cope. Well, let's get down to brass tacks here. Do you want parasites or do you want cancer?
Now, for the record, if I was going to go to these support groups, I would probably end up picking parasites simply because they're more they're easier to explain.
Easier to explain. I want bowel cancer. Saying, oh, you do you? That sounds weird. Nothing quite like the thrill of a shared nomenclature between two people becoming increasingly familiar with
I
each
do
other.
really enjoy this scene. Specifically, the back and forth between the scheduling is honestly very humorous.
Right? Because you definitely will not hear a conversation like this outside of this movie. And here coming up is the movie poking fun at how the narrator doesn't have a real name. He's still wearing the "Hello, my name is Rupert.
Hmm.
My name is Travis. My name is
My
Cornelius."
name is Marshall. Planes.
Who am I? And it is a master stroke of the movie's theme about human psychology, that the question "Who am I?" of course is one of the most important questions of life. We spend some philosophers would say we spend our entire lives just developing an answer to that question. What Fight Club it does a wonderful job of exposing is how things like
Hey, Brad
marketing,
Pitt.
advertising, idealizing one's self-image can blur the line between self and an artificial invention of self.
Individually wrapped Q-tips.
And if you watch this scene closely, you can see all the members of Project Mayhem all saying welcome simultaneously in the commercial. But we'll get into Project Mayhem. On a long enough timeline, the survival rate for everyone drops to 0.
Yes.
That is a great takeaway line from this flick. It's true, you can become a bit sadistic by observing death and destruction like this immolated vehicle. Now, social commentary.
Because it's, profitable to just keep the product on the shelves.
Precisely.
One of the big
Is
ones.
Is it man that drives man crazy, or is it big business? And this is one of those scenes where you kind of just shake your head and smile and say, this is not really happening.
Right.
We've seen enough instances where we have to draw the line between real and not real. Because boom, he wakes up and everything's fine.
Except not everything is fine. Hey, Brad Pitt.
Dun dun dun. We saw you on the electric walkway just a couple minutes ago.
Yep.
Funny, we're finally meeting. You're not a black lady. You're a white man.
This is actually a really interesting tidbit that I can buy.
Which one?
Now, the fact that the whole reason the oxygen masks are on planes is to overstimulate you and calm you down during the event of a catastrophe.
It reminds me of the theory, I think, or actual documented incident of casinos upping the oxygen rate in their facilities in order to keep people awake so that they can keep playing and keep blowing their money. Did you know that most of the air we breathe is actually 79% composed of nitrogen?
And I sell soap.
Well, so you're a soapman. I've never met a soapman before. That is not true, Brad Pitt. You cannot
That is
mix
partially true. You can
It
most
is no. You can't publish a bomb recipe in either a book or a movie.
But
it's
you don't
illegal.
need to. But here's the thing: you can take the principles that he just mentioned, refine them a bit, and actually generate a citrus-based napalm.
Gerdat, are you suggesting that our viewers should go home and make homemade explosives?
No, I just think it's an interesting piece of trivial knowledge to have.
they just want to give the impression that he's sharing a bomb recipe. They're complete hogwash, and if you try making it yourself, you're just wasting your time and
Yeah,
your money.
because he doesn't actually describe the process of doing it at all.
As I pass by, do I give you the ass or the crotch? Many have become the times in life where I wonder that same question.
It's usually more comfortable to go crotch first.
Yeah, I usually give people the crotch. It's just, well, I mean, I can't face you unless my balls are too. A lot of the little trivia that you learn about how people go about their jobs, like, what do you call the guy who picks up your luggage at the airport? These were actual anecdotes from Chuck and his working life that he put into his novel. Again, it's the stuff that is real, and the stuff that incredibly makes this movie continue to be relevant even 25 years after its release. In this post wire phone age, we're very much into the digital information internet age, yet a lot of the same concepts that were introduced to in this movie still apply.
Whoosh!
A place to be somebody. Dun, dun, dun.
Do we get to see any of his furniture having been exploded?
Actually, yes, there will be depictions of the scene of the explosion. The narrator's apartment has just exploded. And he's looking...
Yeah, the yin yang table. Okay.
The yin yang table, as seen from the very well done and well edited scene of the IKEA, the inventory listings, the serial numbers, the prices, though we were watching a commercial for a second.
We had that shown off a little bit earlier to us.
555-5555. If you want love, call 555-5555. Yeah, you can kind of see why The Matrix eked ahead in the editing department. The computer effects in this movie it's a little too clean at times. You could tell it's a computer generated image. Reminds me of Toy Story quite a bit, actually.
Explosion.
I can hear you breathing.
Well, you called Marley the favorite place to stay, and then you chickened out.
He did chicken out. The narrator is a coward. He's afraid of his own life.
The number you have reached is disconnected. Please try again later.
Nice little roaming around the phone booth shot.
Oh no, it's Superman on the other end.
But you can't call a payphone. Phone booth, 2004. Kiefer Sutherland. Fucking bullshit movie. There are no payphones anymore.
That is okay. Just because I don't see payphones anymore doesn't mean that they no longer exist. And after all, again, this is supposed to be Lower New York. I bet you that there are in fact payphones in Lower New York still.
Right. not working payphones, though.
That's
They're
probably true.
probably preserved as historical artifacts, because it would become very expensive for a phone company to maintain just one phone, which nobody is going to use, by the way. And now we're getting into suffering. What is suffering, and what does it mean to one's life? So Brad Pitt's Tyler Durden raises an interesting point. Well, if you ever think you're having a bad day, just remember, it's not like your girlfriend ripped off your penis in the middle of the night and then threw it out a moving car window.
No, it is not.
Daniel Quinn, anyone?
Hey, I like being a consumer. Okay, and consuming itself is not entirely pleasurable to me, but the after effects of consuming tend to be so.
What Tyler Durden is talking about is consumption for the sake of consumption,
Right.
which is a more philosophical query that we're forced to confront more and more so, and in the modern age of commercialism, mass production, the post-industrial age, where it seems these days, and we've been looking at advertisements and TV commercials. There's a fucking blurred out Budweiser logo in the top left corner of the screen. Yeah, modern man is programmed to buy. It's a fact. And what I adore this movie for is that it is one of the few instances of folklore literature and film that actually declares out loud, yes, culture is a story. We spend our entire lives listening to this story so that we can arrange our lives and deal with other people who hear the same story. It is not who we are.
You called me up so that you could ask this question. You haven't asked the question yet, so ask me.
You piss in your pants because you don't want to sleep with me? Oh, that was easy.
Sometimes, guys, you just have to ask the question.
It doesn't hurt to ask.
It can hurt to
Yeah.
ask, but you should ask anyway.
Ah, penis. Now, what the hell does this explanation of how to make a movie have to do with anything?
It's actually explanation for a little bit of the stuff that was happening prior to this event.
You call that cigarette burns. No, you can actually see the microcosm of the process that put this whole movie together. Because this is, I imagine, this actually was, they did use computers in order to put this movie together. What the narrator and Tyler Durden are explaining why they're actively manipulating a children's film in order to insert pornography is that there is a classical filmmaking style that is, in all intents and purposes, just cutting and taping together a bunch of images and then putting a soundtrack to it. I'm laughing. You're supposed to feel sorry for the little girl that started crying because she saw a man's great hairy penis. Because it's not good. There are a lot of things that the characters in this movie do that are not good.
Specifically this one.
I've never met a restaurant worker who confessed to sabotaging food like this.
Well, you're not allowed to confess that, Mr. Cloud.
No, you can confess whatever you want.
The reasoning
Have you
for
been?
this fight, I actually totally agree with. You know, getting into a fight to see what getting into a fight is like is totally something that people should have happen to them at some point in their lives. What happens after this, though, is something that kind of boggles me.
Have you been in a fight, Mr. Gerdat?
I have. It is not a pleasurable experience for me.
How old were you when you got into this fight?
I'm not going to disclose that.
Not even how old you were?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I'm a little more forthcoming about my experiences about being in a fight. I mean, I've gotten into fights with my sister. I've gotten into fights with my brother. I got into a fight with this kid that I went to camp with one morning. I can't even remember what the hell we got into a fight about, but we got in a scuffle in the tent. And yeah, that was real. That was like, okay, I'm angry, I'm pissed, it's go time. Like, I'm gonna try to hit you.
Was it over Transformers?
It was not over Transformers. For all I know, it was over Captain Underpants.
Ah.
And so the Fight Club premise is born. Two
Kind
guys
of.
beating the shit out of each other for the sake of beating the shit out of each other.
Again, this is an extension of Edward's attempt to um, to address his insomnia and narcolepsy through catharsis treatment.
Right. Like, that's one of the reasons why. That's probably the reason why real fight clubs started happening after this movie came out. That the human phenomenon of a bunch of guys getting together and then having these little fight clubs in basements or bars or or shut down establishments had spread. You know, you can't publish a bomb recipe, but you can't hide the fact that it is highly repeatable that you can start a fight club and then continue from there. And it's also why characters in video games, like for example in the Shivering Isles expansion of Oblivion, you can actually find a fight club. It's a household name. Well, I am glad that you're opposed to fighting, glorifying violence,
I'm not exactly
sharing.
all that opposed to glorifying violence, to be perfectly honest, but I I like well because of the twist that happens. What do they actually see here?
They see the narrator beating himself up, and they do reveal that by going back over that scene with the same characters and in the same location.
Okay, I forgot that we actually do get to see that from another perspective. My bad.
Yeah, and because this is a movie we're talking about, it's at liberty to reuse its assets in order to keep the audience in line with like what they're supposed to be thinking and feeling, and to remind of the evidentiary basis on which they can make these assertions. And now the Fight Club is starting to get new members. Can I be next, please? I want to punch. I want to bleed. For
Except they don't even bother to shout for because it's nighttime.
movie trivia number 57, Edward Norton and Brad Pitt were actually drunk and launching golf balls at the side of the actors trailer where they were keeping donuts and coffee. Why is he wearing a Santa Claus cap and riding a bike in a house?
Tyler does some weird shit in this movie, specifically the riding the bike indoors.
Hey man, what are you reading? Yeah, the organs talking about themselves in the first person was a thing that appeared in the book as well.
Yep.
Happy Madison, take notice that brand exposure will help you generate the revenue you need in order to develop and produce a movie in the first place. Brought to you by Budweiser. Let's see, generic brand, generic brand.
Mm.
Oh yeah, this is the moment when a lot of viewers may raise their eyebrows and say, "Are these two homosexuals?"
No, they're not homosexuals. They're
They're not. They're
housemates.
not. Well, I mean, it's closer to masturbation than homosexuality, but that's beside the point. No, they're both. These are both heterosexual characters.
Right. And they are housemates.
I'm wondering if another woman is really the answer we need. That there are two ways of looking at that statement, which I will never forget. How my friend's dad, who was watching this movie for the first time, was he said out loud, "So what the hell is with this movie? Are they gay?"
No, they're not gay.
Oh man, it was just starting to get good.
Hey, Marla.
Thought you'd never see her again, huh? Like, damn, she fine. This is what these men get excited about. This is what the narrator gets excited about. You should probably not swallow a pint of your own blood to
Yeah,
see whether
don't
or not
swallow
it'll
a
make you
pint of
sick.
your own blood.
Well, here's a nice extended tracking shot of us going into the bar. Did we say that this is a good movie? This is a great movie because
Yes.
a lot of the great movies I've seen have these long continuous takes where there's no break in the camera shot whatsoever. It is just following along with the action. Like Ray Liotta going into the restaurant again. Hey, how you doing? Hey, I took care of that thing for you in Goodfellas. Yep, don't break the camera. Just turn it around. Filmmakers take note. This is the difference between mediocre cinema and good cinema. It's
I don't
based
know.
on
This tracking
stage
shot.
drama.
No, this tracking shot is good, certainly, but it goes on a tad too long.
Well, okay, now there's been a break
Yeah, there's been multiple
in the
breaks
shot.
now.
That was like a 30-second long take. I love that. Very Tarantino.
And honestly, the lighting in this movie could be, a bit softer for me.
Softer?
Yeah.
You can't see a damn thing right now.
Well, that's my point. We could actually have a bit more. We could have a bit better lighting for some of these scenes.
The second rule of Fight Club is
You do not talk about Fight Club.
it's hyperbole. He could have mentioned the rule only once, but the repetition stresses the point. Do not talk about Fight Club. I think in the book Fight Club there were only 7 rules. I think they added this last one that if it's your first night at Fight Club, you have to fight. Well, that's just it. It is a great thrill to watch, like MMA, boxing. It's been a fascination in the civilized world going back thousands of years.
Right.
And then, of course, there's Mandingo fighting from Django Unchained, which is supposed to be a fight to the death. These guys are not trying to kill each other.
Right.
They're just trying to
They're trying to
beat
experience catharsis through violence.
Right, and that catharsis would be marred by causing permanent injury or death onto another human being.
I don't think William Shatner would actually be that good of a fight, though.
They added that for the movie. Chuck Palahniuk would. I don't. I mean, he might have said like, yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna beat the shit out of Captain Kirk.
Well, Captain Kirk isn't really all that big of a fight, you know.
He's all talk. He's full of hot gas. Note that man only said "excuse me" to Edward Norton and not to Brad Pitt. I don't know if they would make a movie like this where you have to put this much risk that people could actually get hurt. And then, as I say that, I remember that just a couple of years ago, Leonardo DiCaprio did put himself in mortal risk by shooting a scene with an actual grizzly bear in The Revenant.
And professional wrestling still exists.
Yep.
As does mixed martial arts fights.
Mixed martial arts fights, I mean, you're supposed to hit your opponent. You're supposed to score points by getting headshots or just making contact in general. Professional wrestling, it's just an unfortunate drawback that, yeah, all this acting about flinging men in the air and then jumping off of turnbuckles and stuff, yeah, there are actual physics involved. It's like, hey, man, that was a good fight. I love you.
No, very sharp stairs.
Makes one led to believe like Tyler Durden is holding the narrator hostage practically. Like, what happened? Yeah, Edward Norton, what happened? I fell. And it hurt. And then 20 years after this movie came out, somebody actually had the audacity to smear cake on the Mona Lisa.
The original Mona Lisa or a reproduction?
The original Mona Lisa.
Ah. Hey, Marla.
The little smile. We love you for your wickedness, crazy lady. You thought brain cancer was bad? Try racking up serious credit card debt. You want to hear my soul leave my body?
And then we get this very awkward jump cut of a sex scene. And it's very obvious during parts of this that they were smoking during sex. And I'm like, that has got to be horrendously uncomfortable for both parties.
Well, yeah. I mean, then they missed the chance of doing the cigarette after sex cliche.
Mm.
Dun dun dun. Enemies make strange bedfellows.
And for the record, Edward, this is not your house. As you mentioned a little earlier, you're not entirely sure if Tyler was squatting or if it was condemned or both.
I think he's been living here long enough to know what the story is with this place. He knew the story before he heard it because.
Because it's an obvious story, Mr. Cloud, not because of spoilers.
It's both at the same time.
Like, how did he manage to fast travel here, man?
This game is a lot. This movie is a lot like a game. You know, just
Yoink!
loading screen after loading screen. I remember trying to edit this movie so I could show my classmates. Yeah, the scene with the obvious hard-throbbing dildo on the left-hand side was something that I tried my damnedest to edit out. I know I never ended up sharing the movie. Just that was how thoroughly engrossed I was in this film in high school. Was I wanted to share it with my classmates. She's in Oregon talking about herself in the third person. My name is Marla. I am infectious human waste.
And then they had sex for 8 hours.
She's in love with sport fucking. Ugh, you disgust me with the idea of having sex with a woman. Please. Leave my ambiguity alone. Because so far into the movie, that's two mysteries we have about this character: is what is his name and what is his sexual orientation.
No, he's definitely straight. He's lying to himself about his sexual attraction.
I haven't been fucked like that since grade school. that was improvised, by the way. That was not in the script.
So what was in the script for that split?
I don't know. Just for all I know, like they just both they got done shooting the scene. David Fincher let the camera keep on rolling. Just you know what? Let me just see how these actors do just being in character. So cinema's greatest moments happen by sheer improvisation. You can look it up on WatchMojo.com. Because these characters are distinct enough that once these actors walk a mile in their shoes, they can even elaborate on what the character would have been like. Because that is this, just like any movie based on a book, it is an elaboration of existing material. Oh, by the way, you should probably never attempt to use a
Just
breaker
electrical circuits while wet. Don't do that.
while ankle deep in water. Yeah. Wait, how did he get up so fast? Why is he wearing gloves?
He's wearing gloves for obvious reasons. Come on, man.
The clues are starting to pile up. Just the thing is that you could see that there's something strange happening. Just you can't exactly pinpoint the reason why these strange things keep happening. You can guess. A lot of people will watch this movie to maybe like an hour and a half the way through, and they'll know what the spoiler is before it happens.
Some people did. I saw this movie as a younger kid. Like, I want to say I was 9, maybe 10, and I still was partially blown by the spoiler, but
I remember being blown by the spoiler. Like, it was on the tip of my tongue, and then in the scene coming up much later where where the narrator confronts Tyler in the hotel room, that they finally get down to brass tacks and explain what's happening. Take note that Tyler and Marla stop having sex upstairs as soon as the narrator picks up the phone.
also the detective does not actually use the narrator's name.
Right. Right. He like, how's he supposed to know he's talking to the right person? Is he ever talking to the right person? And this chemical mumbo jumbo means somebody done fucked up your apartment
On purpose.
with a homemade explosive. Smiley face. Something you want to shout from the mountaintops. You're all a bunch of fucking idiots. You're all a bunch of fucking slaves.
I like that joke, honestly.
And that was just for movie audiences.
Yeah.
A movie making fun of watching movies. A movie making fun of being an actor in a movie. Oh, I forgot how much I missed Fight Club. Its meta-analysis. Its pokes of fun at its own canon.
This is an actually interesting analogy that Marlon comes up with here, and it's one that I kind of agree with.
That analogy was taken directly from the book. She's getting closer.
Hey, come on. Some of us still actually have Christmas trees. I don't, but, you know.
So what Marla is alluding to is another one of many themes that this movie gets across is what is bottom and what does it mean to hit bottom? It means that your suffering is so great, so to such a superlative degree that you could not possibly be enduring any more suffering. And what Tyler Durden is trying to get across to the narrator, the members of Fight Club, Project Mayhem, and the entire world at large is that hitting bottom is the closest you'll ever be to being truly human in this world.
Right.
She's singing Valley of the Dolls.
Which is a track I'm not
She
actually familiar with.
She likes dolls.
Do we ever get that actually confirmed?
She was just wearing a pink dress a short while ago. Strikes me that someone as antisocial as Marla Singer probably enjoyed playing with dolls growing up as a young girl. Doing lots of stuff and sneaking around, going through dumpsters and shit, gonna get us some fat. Ah, the music and the scene transitions so brilliantly excite me to just see what is about to happen, even though I've seen this movie before. It gets you in the moment. Ugh. Get another one.
So, like, why didn't they just use the protective padding that they were clearly using for the transfer?
Maybe they needed it in order to get back over the chain link fence. Well, gee, I mean, if they did that, then we wouldn't have had that hilarious moment where, yes, this is stinky, disgusting stuff.
Yep.
It's a mixture of human fat and blood taken out from a liposuction clinic. This is what you consider dark comedy.
A bit.
And it is a comedy because it does have a happy ending if you consider the destruction of, more than just one building, albeit no human lives lost in the process, a part of a happy ending.
This is one of the most iconic moments in the entire movie, though.
Like, alright, that's it. These guys are gay. Well, I mean, Tyler Durden's bisexual. And then you realize, oh shit, this is kinky. How did you know I was trying to go to center, Tyler? Come on, embrace the suffering. Kind of like the Joker in The Dark Knight. This movie really begs the question. This movie has been pretty fucking nutty so far. What is going to happen next? And nobody would see this scene coming.
Understanding that is actually a very important part of human development.
Yes. Or as my philosophy teacher from college put it quite astutely, is learning philosophy is the process of learning how to die. Learning that whether you live a moral life or an immoral life, you're going to die. But just that normally people who try to live good lives, try to live by a code, generally are more ready for death than their immoral counterparts. That those people they'll be fearful, they'll be regretful, they'll die as cowards. They had to dub over the dialogue for this scene in post. Why, Edward Norton, you look like
About
you have
ready
a
to actually
conviction.
confront your problems.
He is an enlightened man, and this movie tries to get across is that enlightenment can take strange turns, like confronting your boss about possibly being a postal maniac.
This backing musical track gets played in StarCraft.
You don't really get this intimately dangerous if I can use those words in StarCraft. Oh, you mean I have to touch you? It's obviously Meals on Wheels. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. So they
the
do.
van is even
They,
labeled Meals on Wheels.
yeah, well, you see, the narrator was blocking the wheels with his body, so I thought it was kind of like how Morpheus partially blocked the Energizer logo, but just by holding the battery a certain way for the camera in the Matrix. Like no, I'm sorry, Duracell. It was a Duracell battery. You could tell because of the copper coating. Like, oh, I wanted to see the boobies.
No, the boobies are not actually important, Mr. Cloud.
They aren't important. I mean, I'll give. Maybe I'll just keep that one for the cutting room floor.
And then,
Oh, you got a kiss.
hey, Bob.
Oh, how can we forget our old friend Bitch Tits? You know, I hope Krispy Kreme wrote a big check to the producers of this movie
Like
because Krispy
100K?
Kreme Donuts has made like 3 or 4 appearances. And now we get to see the consequences of talking about Fight Club.
For the record, Tyler does in fact sleep more than an hour a night.
Dun, dun. They let Bob keep his shirt on because of his bitch
Yep.
tits. So actually, that's the third. That's the third rule of Fight Club that Bob broke: no shirts, no shoes, and don't talk about Fight Club 2 times over.
And this is the scene where we meet Lou, right?
Yep, I'm fucking Lou, and who the fuck are you? This is one. This is one of the more important expository segments of the movie.
Yeah, because this is when the organization of Project Mayhem officially starts. Specifically tables.
Yeah, IKEA. We're looking at you, you sons of biscuits. Sweet, flaky biscuits enjoyed over a yin yang table with a cup of Folgers blended coffee blend, only $5.99.
Now, the exploration of nihilism that this movie most certainly has is always ends up being misconstrued as a positive take of it, when in reality, from this point in the movie onward, Tyler's our primary antagonist.
Oh yeah, he's already practiced some duplicity, like leading people to believe that he should have all the credit for inventing Fight Club.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Lou.
Lou was not in the book.
Well, his tavern's still in the book, right?
No.
Oh, damn.
Neither Lou nor his tavern were in the book. It's just the movie is forcing the issue that you saw signage for Lou's Tavern. This is like our third or fourth. Actually, no, this is more like our sixth visit to this basement here. And you wonder, this is a bar. It has restaurant opening hours as a cash flow, business management, and now we see, oh yeah, this is driven by a business owner, and that's just who we were talking about. People who get people on the treadmill of spending money for shit they don't need.
I want to say that this scene specifically is the inspiration for Dean Winchester for Supernatural, but I'm not sure.
This movie is so important to American films and TV shows that it has inspired a lot of references and inspirations. Did I say inspired inspirations? I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Parodies too. Come on, narrator, you stay away. You're going to ruin the moment because I'm not actually here. Or rather, you're not actually there. Oh, this is getting sexy. Oh, yeah! Oh, punch me harder! Oh, gross.
And
And
so
so,
by using gross out and intimidation, we actually have corporate sponsorship now. Wah.
and Jared Leto is pleased. I can't remember if this is a recreation of a scene from the book or if this entire deal with securing a place where they can continue to have Fight Club is just an invention of the movie. Oh, here comes the Space Monkeys theme. I fucking love this scene. It's so funny.
Like, this assignment is very clearly damn near fucking impossible.
Now watch the camera because it's supposed to be steady during some of these shots, but you'll see it start shaking.
Yeah.
So you see it starts shaking a little bit right there because the cameraman is actually laughing so hard that he's shaking the camera.
Why did Bob try and chase a dude on a bike?
I don't think Glasses balding man would have lost that fight. He's way too skinny. All right, no, he's coming back for more.
This
Oh, boy.
specifically is the fight that straight up should not have happened. Mostly because he lies for the entirety of it.
So, expectation. we've stuffed the cartridge. We've loaded the clip. Now it's time to fire this gun off. Are you ready? Because everybody and their mother probably thought that the narrator was about to beat up his boss. But he's not.
Brake lines that fail after 1,000 miles, Cloud. That isn't a real thing, right? Like, at least get 10K out of your brake lines.
Gerdat, if anything can be done right, especially manufacturing and selling cars, it can be done wrong.
This is true, okay? This is very true. But I don't think that there's a factory in the 90s that would have actually shipped brake lines that break out after 1,000 miles. 10,000, sure. But 1,000? Vehicles are supposed to last for upwards of 300,000 miles in the 90s.
Well, this is a real way of getting somebody to say, what the fuck?
Could you have pulled off that stunt, specifically jumping backwards in order to break his table?
I think that was real glass, too. Like, again, part of the reason why there has not been a movie quite like this since it came out, because I'm sure a lot of people, willingly so, mind you, did suffer real injuries as a result of filming this movie. It's kind of like if Jackass was based on a book.
Like, I could have done that one. But I don't know if I could have actually jumped through his table.
Just when you thought he was done. Got blood coming out of his nose. He's got glass stuck in his hand. I think that's real. I could be wrong, of course. Like some kind of monster. He's crawling. He's coming to get me. But the monster was my creation. Oh, I hope nobody tried imitating that stunt in order to get their boss fired.
Especially with the whistling at the end. God damn. The ego on Edward right there.
People acting badly. Like suing companies over shit they didn't do.
Hugs.
Or are they exacting justice? We see it now. We're seeing Jared Leto's angel face more and more often as the movie goes on.
Angel Face ends up becoming the effective poster boy for Project Mayhem. At least in the terms of the movie.
Right. Did you know? Now, Angel Face was he was just like how he is in this movie, because he doesn't have a lot of lines of dialogue. His is more of a symbolic or conceptual nature than being an actual character who develops during a movie. It's not so much what he does, it's about what happens to him. Brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Feeding the birds.
In order to destroy the high-end vehicles.
How? How did this happen? Don't fuck with the guys who put the instruction manuals in your airport seat backsides, because they will fuck with you in a severe way.
Do we need to blow up the monitors, though?
Brought to you by Apple.
And this is yet another one of the more iconic scenes in this movie. This movie is loaded with iconic scenes, but it's usually the ones that are a twist surprises that stick out to me.
Right, or as one film critic who talked about what made Shawshank Redemption a great movie is a reversal. You expect that by holding a gun up to this man's head that he's about to get his brains blown out. You expect that the narrator is going to get in a fight with his boss, because we just watched for the past couple minutes, for the past minute or so, a bunch of guys fucking with just random strangers in public trying to get into the fight. It's the reversal that makes it a great scene. That it knows what your expectation is. It is going to surprise you instead. Now, Raymond K. Hessel, this is just like Angel Face, just like Bitch Tits Bob, was from the original book. And the point, of course, of Raymond K. Hessel is that when you see life through the lens of death, you understand life more clearly for what it is than not. By, for example, living the delusion that you're going to live forever. Well, Raymond KK Hessel.
Here's the thing. This isn't actually an escalation of violence on Tyler's part. I mean, it looks like it to the audience, but no, he's using his intimidation and tools in order to manipulate someone into doing exactly what he wants, and in this case, the betterment of oneself. It's deplorably evil shit and methodology that he's using for it, but he is using it for positive ends.
You describe the polarity of his decisions as positive. The thing is that at this point in the movie, we don't know if Tyler really has an end goal in mind.
And right now, he very clearly does not.
Because even in the time of Jesus Christ, while he was helping the blind see and curing the lepers of their diseases, there were still blind people and there were still lepers. It's just that among the few, among the multitude of men, that those whom Jesus visited actually were affected by him. Now, our quasi-antichrist here also is limited in whom he can affect, while the world at large is unaffected by him. But, for example, while he's making the screen shake in front of you, you are in the grips of a madman, effectively.
Hey, Marla.
Yeah, it's just become a... Aren't you just pleased it's become a more normal thing that these two just... You know, they're not antagonizing each other. He's not telling them, get the hell out of my house. They're moving on. And then, of course, they make mention of a character who is no longer moving on.
Of course, Chloe's dead.
Oh yeah, Chloe, right? Just like that. Oh yeah, yeah. I remember her. The problem is I wasn't thinking about her for the past hour and a half.
Oh, come on. It's not been a full hour and a half yet.
Let's see. What's the timestamp right now? We're at 1 hour and 26 minutes, just about.
Yeah, so it's like an hour and 15
tick.
minutes that Chloe's been around.
But still, isn't it amazing how in life we can just dismiss people even when even when some standards and theories should say that they are not dismissible. That it is our dismissiveness that brings out the worst in us.
Let's open up the human brain and see what's inside.
Smiley face. I like that little smiley faces there. Oh, what? You didn't see my kiss mark? Smooch smooch?
I don't want to talk to you, Marla.
Why does the narrator keep repeating what Tyler's saying?
Because it's a spoiler.
The use of mystery in order to get people to continue watching
Now
the movie.
Tyler has a plan.
You know what I am? I'm just a dog chasing cars. The Project Mayhem initiation ritual. I believe that this whole idea of discouraging, joining, making people stand outside day after day,
Specifically without food. Like,
without food, shelter, or encouragement, as Tyler was explaining, is based on an Eastern temple where the monks use this similar method of gaining new members. It's a way of getting people to be disciplined. I mean, obviously, because Project Mayhem is about blind, unswerving loyalty
and faith.
and faith. Yeah. Get off my porch! I will beat you with a broom.
It's a +1
sweep
broom
you.
of annoyance.
I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna get a shovel. You hear me?
Hey, Bob.
Like, don't make me do this to Bob. I love you, Bob. I love you and your beautiful singing voice and your great, dramatically huge tits. Oh, I guess I should go now.
Bye, Bob.
No, wait. No, Bob. We love you.
You do a really good impression of Bat Out of Hell.
Like a bat out of hell, I'll be gone before the morning comes.
Oh. Now I think I understand why they chose Meatloaf to play Big Bitch Tits Bob.
Now you can see which scenes they shot before other scenes. Natalie Portman, V for Vendetta, 2005.
Blind!
In the midst of all this intimidation and terror, this movie will still make you rise a chuckle out.
Despite the fact that what is happening now is literally the construction of a cult.
Yeah, very, very Jonestown. I agree.
And not only are we doing Jonestown stuff, we're actually repairing the Paper Street Soap Factory for some fucking reason. Like, do we need the funds from the soap factory anymore?
Well, they're well beyond the point of making soap at this point. Opportunity costs and all that. They're getting funding from the lawsuit with the Pressman Hotel because they've been urinating in the soup, and also from the narrator's former job, working as a... Oh, wait, no, that's right, because that was part of the deal, is he's being paid as an outside consultant even though he never works a day in his life in that place ever again.
Right. So what movie are they watching?
The news.
Ah, yes, the news.
Brought to you by Pepsi. And what were they drinking? They're drinking Busch Lights. Okay, all right. No, I would not see a bunch of dudes. Don't pass around 6-packs of Busch Light like you're giving them a fucking gold bar. Pop some Coors Light or something. Please.
Ah, how much coordination would that have fucking taken, Mr. Cloud?
Well, one team would have rigged the explosives and the other team would have suspended themselves, probably because they work as window cleaners at that building. Yeah, you're funny. We know about you. Tyler, what's Project Mayhem? Tyler? There's a lot of smoking in this movie.
There is a lot of smoking in this movie. Tyler smokes, Marla smokes, the politician smokes cigars. Several of the members of Project Mayhem smoke. Several of the guys in Fight Club smoke. But it is the 90s, so it's okay that people smoke.
Yeah, that's true. They didn't ban smoking inside facilities until basically the 2000s.
Yeah, like 2002, 2003, somewhere in there.
Major reforms in restaurants and hotels. Uh-oh.
And so we come to the a less iconic scene.
The tits are coming to get you. Look out.
Yoink!
Now we're starting to cross the line between bizarre and outright criminal activity. Off screen, they're grabbing his junk, and thanks to the cinema explanation scene from 50 minutes prior, we know what a man's penis looks like according to this film. It is hairy and it is precious.
Don't fuck with us.
That's right. So I think about that sometimes. People take for granted that people do work for them. They receive minimal pay and compensation. Yet we depend on them.
So Tyler can't actually work as a maitre d'. Well, no. Tyler can still work as a maitre d' at the restaurant. He just can't go to any political events where that guy is head.
I mean, all they have to do is just tell the guys, hey, take the night off. We got this. And they put on the uniforms and the little bow ties, and they infiltrate the facility. Because everybody's in on it.
Yes,
by this point,
in this scene where Edward's narration gets extremely poetic.
You realize that among the other bad things that are happening is they are just outright getting brutally wicked, taking something beautiful and destroying it, which is the whole point of Angel Face's character.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what? You mean there is such a thing as going too far? It's the poetry and analogies that brings out the beauty in Chuck Palahniuk's writing.
I wanted to breathe smoke.
Somebody get me a fucking cigarette. I'm lit. Well, he said he wanted to breathe smoke, so Tyler's doing the smoking for him.
Vehicles.
Important scene number 27. What I can attribute to maybe a loss of a recycle your animals. What I can attribute to a loss of a half star on the Roger Ebert's movie rating scale. This is a 3.5 star out of 4 star movie, meaning that critics generally regard this movie as great. It's not perfect. There is no such thing as a perfect movie. Just one major glaring imperfection of this movie is, okay, you're opening up this forum about what it means to be alive, what it means to have a brain, observe the world, observe the evil in the world, and also coping with it. But what is the lesson? What wisdom are you supposed to glean from the story? The wisdom, honestly, is not. But what I gather after having known about this movie for as long as I have, and also watching it presently, is it is the path. It is knowing how to take the first steps along the pathway to wisdom that matters. It's knowing how to open up inquiry, to ask questions, to be open-minded. Now, this movie does not have any answers, but it acknowledges that if you want the answers, they are there, as long as you're willing to endure in your exploration. You should never drive in the oncoming traffic lane.
Especially in such a heavy rainstorm, because it's very unlikely that they'll actually be able to do that swerve.
Right? One of many scenes that when you realize what is really happening and the plot twist, a couple actually, that watching this movie a second time is a wonderful thing. This is maybe like my 10th or 11th time seeing this movie all the way through.
And then Tyler puts his foot on the accelerator, only to actually then equip his seatbelt. There's a little bit of hypocrisy in this scene, to be perfectly honest.
Hypocrisy?
Yeah. Tyler doesn't give a shit about his own life, and yet he still bothers to put a seatbelt on here.
Well, there's hitting bottom and there's committing suicide.
Right.
Hitting bottom is the step right before suicide.
Wheels.
Observers take note that as the men pile out of the car, you can notice that Tyler Durden is stepping out of the passenger side, and then he goes to the driver's side in order to get Edward Norton. But how could this be?
I did not notice that. Mwaha.
Uh-huh. So in the book version of that scene, they did crash a car. There were zealots driving with the narrator and Tyler Durden. But it was another member of Project Mayhem who did the driving and the swerving and the losing control of the car in order to achieve a near-life experience.
Near death.
And I think the phrase near-life experience was I think Brad Pitt improvised that line.
Okay.
Because in a film, you want to make good use of your actors. They are your core assets. You want to use them wherever you can, freely, so that it will keep the audience ensconced in the world that they create. But in a book, you're more at liberty to just put characters there who only have one function. They're there for a scene, and then they're gone for the rest of the story, which is perfectly forgivable.
And just like that.
No condoms in the toilet? No sport fucking? I miss him already. Oh, that's a lot of Raymond K. Hessels.
Yeah, we have like upwards of 30 people under this roof at the moment.
Oh yeah, you can't have a project without a group. Yes, the Space Monkeys. Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Aha, aha, aha.
Run, Forrest, run.
Disinformation. Ooh.
Organized. Regimented. Motivated.
Hey, Angel Face.
Mutilated. Cauliflower ear. Well, maybe they are still making and selling soap. I mean, money's money.
Money is money, and you do
better.
require some amount of money in order to fund an operation of this size. I think we're actually upwards of 40 people in this house at the moment.
Oh yeah. That scene should put you in uncomfortably squishy familiarity with how crowded it had gotten in there while the narrator drunkenly
Hey,
swings
Marla.
a handle of vodka while wearing pajamas. And to think that we have made it this far into the story, and this is only the first time that the narrator has referred to Tyler to another character, especially one as important as Marla.
I mean, it's implied. It's implied through his mannerisms and gestures that he makes that implication to other members of Project Mayhem.
Right, but not by name.
Yeah.
Now moving on to the next big thing. His name is Robert Paulson. He was 48 years old. Now Robert Paulson will live forever in memorial. He'll be 48 forever. I can't remember what the movie's explanation was as to how Robert Paulson got killed. I know that the movie, the book mentions that Robert Paulson, he dies. The whole his name is Robert Paulson thing. Yeah, that was in the book, but the whole idea about employing an explosive device at Starbucks and the scheme to destroy a piece of corporate art, that was the movie doing that. Now we see that without a leader, the group is just making up shit as it goes along.
Like it's supposed to.
Because that's what happens when you get a cult together, when there's a lack of leadership, then things will take strange and dangerous turns. Hey, no, goddammit, no. Just all of you stop. Doesn't it make it just want to chant with them? I'm not even sure if they actually bury Bob, as Angel Face was alluding to.
They should, but I don't
go.
think they bury him in the garden. I think they actually do take them out to a real cemetery somewhere. But after all, they do have employees in the cemetery business, obviously.
Okay, more flashing images. Tyler Durden, Tyler Durden. But what does it mean? I need to see you in my office. Budweiser. Building anticipation to the great reveal. You know that the movie is getting ready to let you in on a little secret. The last thing that a movie creator would want to do is to give you reason to turn the movie off. This movie gives you numerous reasons to keep the movie on.
Right.
Especially laughing at people who don't know how to explain things correctly. You're a moron. How meta. The fight clubs forming in other cities even before fight clubs were forming in other cities. I can only imagine how this man smells.
Very, very poor.
Because I noticed he's been wearing the same clothes in every scene, and he according to the narration, he visits as many as 50 different cities.
Right.
So he finds himself at home among the minimum wage worker, the footman, the bottom of the rung on the ladder of achievement. Because I know you've been testing a lot of people. I just want to be sure that this is a test before you break my neck again.
This isn't a test, sir.
Zoom in on the face, because we got something to tell you. Well, that doesn't make any sense. I'm not Tyler Durden. I'm oh crap, what's my name again?
Edward.
No, they don't call the character
They
Edward.
don't.
He doesn't. Jack Nicholson can play Jack Torrance. Edward Norton is usually playing a character who is not named Edward. Is that what you were calling it? We've just lost cabin pressure. Like the citizens of Brave New World, that they hear these little phrases throughout
Hey,
their
Tyler.
whole lives, and then suddenly it comes out of their mouths. And then at this point, the audience members are all gripping the fronts of the chairs in front of the backs of the chairs in front of them, saying, "Just tell me, what is going on?"
Well, the obvious
Say
thing.
it. No, I swear to God, even at this moment, it did not make sense until the explanation actually came out. I just didn't get it. Also, that I never heard a person say quite so astutely. We are the same person. It's not a phrase you run into a lot in life. Movie/book trivia factoid number 175. Chuck did not realize that Tyler was a figment of the narrator's imagination until he was well into the way of writing the book.
Right.
It's amazing how writers can develop their stories after they've already initiated a project. They intended a story to go a certain way, and then it turns out to be something not only different, but better than what they had in mind to begin with. And then on the other side of that same coin, the writer who came up with the story in the first place was outplayed by the director who took over the screenplay by writing a better ending to the story. So at this point, Book Tyler is telling the narrator, like, listen, don't fuck with me now that you know what's going on between you and I, which is not really you and I because it's just you. Don't start, like, handcuffing yourself to a bed or, before you go to sleep or doing anything to sabotage me, or I'm going to make your life a living hell. But because this revelation is happening so late in the film, they don't start going down that avenue. They just want to resolve the Project Mayhem
Sleep
arc.
bomb.
The movie keeps right on going, and no one in the audience has any idea. Uh-oh. I was just sleeping. I just learned in the past 5 minutes that sleeping is bad. That son of a bitch.
Mm. And so the paper street company is once again deserted.
The jig is up. Now he cannot stop what has been set into motion. Having predicated of his own insanity and his obsession with human suffering.
Now, did he use citrus soap in order to make these bombs or what?
Man, how the fuck should I know? They're not even real bomb recipes, for God's sake. There's also the part in the book where Marla Singer starts recounting, like, oh, you know, I made love to a guy who had his left arm amputated, a guy who had bipolar disorder, and then the narrator realized that he was going to be added to that list of crazy people who she's had relations with, saying, I once had sex with a guy who had multiple personalities.
Don't drop the important paperwork. He didn't even go back for them.
This scene does not happen in the book.
Of course not.
Sir, we just ejaculated in the clam chowder. She probably should not have that. You know what's happening back there. Every time you see beat up faces, a bunch of guys all nodding at the same time, they're all in on it, and it is amazing.
What's really weird is that if you actually take the numbers for this movie at face value, Tyler technically secondarily employs about 10% of the working class population of lower New York.
Well, you keep saying New York.
Hey, that's what I'm guessing here. We got Franklin Street, we got Drury Avenue, we got Fulton Street. I mean, this could probably actually be Lower Grand Rapids, but it's not Lower Grand Rapids. We don't have a major financial sector, as far as I'm aware.
You know who knows them? You know who knows the Muffin Man?
George Clooney.
Tyler Durden knows the Muffin Man.
He does.
You're Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Jackass. The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. That's a book that I'd like to read at some point. I haven't quite
It's
gotten around to
relatively
it
short,
yet.
honestly.
Have you read
I have not
The
read
Strange
the
Case?
entirety of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but I have had it synopsized for me multiple times, and it is short.
Oh, yeah. And just like many retellings we find, actually the story of Count Dracula is probably second only to Jesus Christ for the number of times it's been retold throughout history. Every ending is different. That you listen to one version of the story, it ends a certain way. You read Bram Stoker's Dracula, you realize that it is very different from pretty much any adaptation you'll see, particularly how abruptly it ends. Similarly, Fight Club, the book, does end rather abruptly. We're approaching the moment where the book and the movie are going to take a massive divergence.
Well, I'm the worst thing that ever happened to me too, Miss Marla. So, damn it!
Yeah. Yep. It's only on screen for a fraction of a second, just like a lot of the images that flicker. All you have to do is just see a row of guys who apparently have their head shaved, all rising at the same time, and yeah, they just nabbed her. And that, finally, ladies and gentlemen, is the beauty of motion picture cinema. Is it does not take a lot of images to get a point across, and good filmmakers will be very selective of what images they choose, what sequences they'll show at length, what sequences they'll show in snippets. With great special effects and editing. Like making the scene look a little Matrix green.
Edward actually says it here. Yeah, they did bury Robert Paulson in the Paper Street Gardens.
Oh, God! Well, thank you, Mr. Gerdat. I actually to think I've watched this movie so many times. I did not realize that. Yeah, that's how the movie concludes as to what happened to Bob.
And I don't think that that's how that would actually work, especially internationally. This might work on a district level, to be perfectly honest, but I'm relatively certain that internationally, resetting the credit score to 0 for all persons would not actually have the financial boom that Tyler was looking for.
Yeah, boom. That's a good word to use, boom. Because you're probably right that it's not as simple as just blowing up a bunch of credit card companies to erase the debt record of every card holder that company had on file. Just like how in Jaws that you have to. It is very. What the movie accomplishes, as this movie does, as Steven Spielberg did, is the movie got you to swallow the ending, however contrived, however unrealistic. Is that's the ending and you accept it, versus the number one the number one failure of any movie is that the audience does not agree with the ending of the story. That it gets you to believe, that it completes the audience's suspension of disbelief. That now you feel the tension, you feel the anticipation that there is something at stake, that something does have to be done or bad things are going to happen. And that's exactly what happens, is the narrator picks up the gun and he takes matters into his own hands while also having his pants around his ankles.
I like this OST piece as well.
And here we have one of the narrator's not so good analogies.
Lead salad.
See, the guy was actually grinning like, yeah, didn't he sound funny just then? It made me squint.
Oddly enough, this is one of the first times in the movie. This is the second major time in the movie that Edward actually takes control of his own life, which is why this piece of music actually resonates with me so much, because it's very panicked. It's very, what the fuck am I doing now? You know.
Right, and the movie quickly makes it clear that this is largely an act of futility. He's just doing what he can.
Right.
He's not going to stop Project Mayhem schemes. He doesn't. I think he does successfully disarm the bomb in the building that he's going to, but of course he doesn't make it to oil and service tube mix. He doesn't shut down the operation. This is right. This is the sense of panic getting across that this is life and this is the only chance he has. Is he gonna be himself, or is he gonna be just another Robert Paulson or a Chloe?
Well, he's never going to be a Chloe.
Too many voices laughing. That has a great effect. That as soon as the glass crinkles up, that Tyler Durden disappears.
Although my question is, why didn't he just use the turnstile?
Why didn't he just take the stairs?
Explosive soap.
It should start coming back to audiences that, oh yeah, this is how the movie started, is the bomb plot. We're finally getting to the end of the movie.
Half an hour left on this timer.
It's like, honey, what time is it on your watch? Because they didn't have cell phones that tell the time back in the 90s. You had to have a wristwatch. Don't listen to Tyler Durden's contradictions. He's trying to mess with you. He's not even really there, for God's sake. See, the narrator's keeping up with the changes. Are you? So after all this revelation, we haven't seen Tyler Durden lay his hands on the narrator. We've seen as early as the first half hour of the movie them beating each other up. Since then, not so much.
Ouch.
This movie just took an even more intense turn. He's real. Your mind makes it real.
I do love that splice right there.
Yeah, because I have to say, like, yes, he is really by himself. You can't kill me. I am immortal. I can do whatever I want to you. Whoa.
Yeah, running away from Brad Pitt is not a thing that's going to work.
Running away from Brad Pitt is hazardous to your health, and you should not do that.
Ouch.
Please collect your ticket. Thank you for stopping by. Now, the very first time I laid eyes on this movie was actually at this scene where I say, Fight Club, a movie about men fighting each other. And then I see, oh shit, there's something really weird happening here. But I don't get it. I had to rewatch the entire movie from back to front to actually get it.
Front to back, you mean?
Front to back, yeah.
Ouch. Ouch. The poor vehicles in this movie, man. They get shot at. They get thrown persons at.
Like, okay, now this just looks weird.
Lots of Bruce Lee homages in this scene. Ow, stairs!
I mean, yeah, a man can throw himself down the stairs, but he looked like he was being dragged by strings a second ago.
Yeah. See, this is a horror movie.
This is why fighting's bad. It gets people hurt. You shouldn't hurt yourself or others.
All right, and now returning to our climax.
Now to explain the difference between the book's ending and the movie ending. The movie ending is great. It resolves a lot of action. It it does justice to this weird Tyler Durden thing that's been going on with the narrator, which is an original idea by Chuck Palahniuk. What the book did was it created like this come to Jesus moment where the narrator is on top of the building by himself, and then here comes Marla and all these like emergency personnel and people from the support groups, all the people that he's come to know throughout the story, they're all coming together and say, "No, come down, we love you, we love you." And then he ends up in a mental institution for the rest of his life, which you're supposed to. He makes it sound like he went to heaven, but no, he's actually in a mental institution where all the angels wearing white are actually wearing like white uniforms and cleaning the floors and stuff, saying, "Don't worry, sir, we'll get you out of here." That was the book's way of ending the movie. It's not.
Well, we still have that
it's
come
not
to Jesus moment. It's just not as literal.
Right. So I hope you all agree that David Fincher did a great job ending this film.
And here's one of the more interesting parts about Tyler's ego. Because throughout the movie, we actually see that a majority of the actions that Tyler actually takes are actually beneficial for Edward's living conditions. Going through this shit was extremely powerful and motivating for Edward.
Right, like finally, like standing up to his boss, getting out of the condo, being trapped by the insomnia and the commercialism, and looking at IKEA to pick out some new furniture for himself. Yeah, you could say that he's better off. Now it's just a question of, well, how much better off is he?
Very slightly better off, okay?
Slightly better off. Yeah, I think people would agree that you would rather be the head of a criminal empire than just another name tag and a tie going to work 9 to 5 and wasting yourself away on your job. That's not to say that we should all be the head of a terrorist organization called Project Mayhem. Interesting, said Chuck Palahniuk to David Fincher. Oh, he's got him by the balls now. Tyler's not about to smack the gun out of his hand because Tyler realizes that if the narrator goes, he goes too.
Ouch!
Great use of special effects. And so Tyler, who is so sure of himself, asks that one question.
Ooh, that smell. Ouch.
I love it how the sound of a body hits the floor, but then at the same moment as the body hitting the floor, there's no body there.
Snacks!
Yeah, did you remember the Busch Light? I know that's your favorite drink, guys. You got your Doritos. Come on, nobody brought the tequila. Tisk, tisk, tisk. It's time. Don't you know that it's time for shots?
Oh, and also we kidnapped Marla again.
Hi, Marla. I'm sorry.
Oh, come on, they're here for the party, dude. They brought snacks.
These two were meant for each other, 'cause her concern for his well-being had quelled her violent bitch heart. Well, he gets to stick around and have some snacks. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. He's gonna go find Gauze now.
And this is the moment that launched the Pixie soundtrack.
It went off with a boom. The explosive mega hit of the summer.
You would think it would have been Dracula, but Dracula was already a song, like 5 years ago at this point. So,
oh man, I should learn how to sing Dracula.
I can't. It's got way too low a range for me. Ugh.
And penis.
The same penis that was in the movie earlier, but yeah. So that's Fight Club.
Woohoo!
Yeah, I know I didn't actually do all that much commentating throughout this movie, and that's because I get lost in this movie a lot, honestly. I enjoy the experience of going through this movie every once in a while. It's been at least a full year since the last time I've seen it, and yeah, I personally think that one of the stronger moments, the stronger aspects of this movie is how well it flows throughout. Because there is a bit of overuse of the narration, but it always feels important when it's there. And because Edward Norton is actually a really good narrator, it never comes off as overly much. There is definitely too much narration in this movie, but it doesn't feel like it.
Right, not overdoing it.
I enjoy the story. I enjoy a lot of the characterization that we have. We have a shitload of iconic moments, and there's a lot of philosophy to pretend to discuss about in this movie. Despite the fact that the ending message always gets muddled by the people who never actually understand that Tyler's actually our antagonist. Tyler is a really likable, really cool, really amazing asshole. But not only is he an asshole, he's actively a terrorist. He is actively a terrorist against the the commercialist norms of the world that he's in. And we're supposed to recognize that, and no one ever seems to recognize that. It's aggravating,
I find it just screamingly funny that you use the word communist to describe Tyler, because that is basically it's not quite Karl Marx Communist Manifesto, the equalization of all mankind, but that is generally the gist of what he was getting at. He was taking down
the overly inflated corporate interests in order to redistribute wealth and financial power to the lower class of people that were in desperate need of that kind of that power. Problem is, we're relatively certain that through basic economic theory that's not how that would have worked, especially on an international level.
Yeah, but we're stepping into territory that's outside the boundaries of this movie, because this movie in no way talks about communism. It does talk about capitalism.
A lot about capitalism.
Because you can't segregate out that all this commercialism and advertising and getting people to chase after shit they don't need. Yeah, that's capitalist commercialism.
And these credits are much shorter than other movies that we've done. Damn it.
Well, that's because it had an open. That's why directors put opening credits into their films, is because it reduces the necessary length of the ending credits. Quentin Tarantino does a wonderful job at just helping people, get out of their seats finally. So, is there going to be another scene coming up?
No, it's not 2005 yet.
My butt's really sweaty. I just want to get out of my movie seat and go to the bathroom finally. I've been holding it in for 2 hours.
Then why didn't you use the bathroom beforehand?
I did. And then I had some soda, I had some popcorn, and some candy, and I snuck in a beer.
You're not supposed to sneak in beers into the movie theater. But yeah, I really enjoy this movie, and I know that you do too, Mr. Cloud. Are there any significant negatives that you can actually point out for the movie?
Well, again, just the lack of really a point is it's yes, it's entertaining. Yes, it makes you laugh. Yes, it makes you feel the intense moments. But what is what is the fucking lesson? Finally, a movie that includes a lot of a lot of little phrases and tidbits about how things work in life. I mean, yeah, there's some practical information like, what do you call the guy who handles your luggage when you go to the airport? But what does it teach? What does it teach us about how we should live our lives? And honestly, I think that is the significance of the David Fincher ending when the narrator, right before the narrator fires the gun off in his mouth, he says, "My eyes are open." And I think that finally is what is the wisdom, is just being able to gain and have wisdom. Have your eyes open. Don't pretend that these hegemonic facets of our life, like being expected to buy so that other people can sell and sell and sell, that these things are outside of us and they do not define who we are.
I mean, that's definitely a primary theme for the first third of the movie. I would argue that a primary lesson of this movie is that the journey to find oneself is often not nearly as simple as we expect it to be.
That, as Plato put it, that the first and greatest victory is the conquering of oneself.
Which does not actually happen in this movie. I mean, it supposedly happens with him firing the gun and killing his alter ego, but no, his influence on your life was mostly positive for you. So yes, it had a very catastrophic ending, but now you have to figure out what the fuck you do afterwards. And thankfully, the story doesn't ask us to contemplate that because we don't have a sequel. And I want to be very clear about this: Fight Club does not need a fucking sequel.
No, do not make a sequel to Fight Club. It's you know what a sequel to Fight Club would do is it would poke fun at all the things that we remember. It basically patronizing the very same audience that loves the movie, making jokes. His name is Robert Paulson. You are not your job or how much money you have in the bank. I am Jill's left nipple. Yeah, sequels would destroy what this movie set out to accomplish, which first and foremost is to entertain, because it's a very entertaining story. It's very meta, with ripe with what do you call it? Satire. Yes, this is very much a satirical work. But satire is in function supposed to draw awareness to things that are real and present in the lives of the people that watch the story in the first place. Oh, and by the way, Tyler makes mention that the characters and events and time of this movie when it took place, there was no Great War, there was no Great Depression. Pointing out the elephant in the room that just 2 years after this was the 9/11 terrorist attacks, and then 2 years after 9/11 was when the U.S. declared war on Iraq. So there was a war after all.
And the depression.
Would it have changed anything, though? And the answer is no. It would not have changed how the story went.
Right.
That was just part of the reinforcement of the point. It's something that Chuck had observed while he was writing the book, and certainly what people filming and crafting this movie also had experienced is that very same thing. The only war present is the war within our own lives.
All right, so this has been us commentating over Fight Club. Tune in next time when it's my turn to pick, I think.
Yeah.
It is my turn to pick the next movie. It will probably be something significantly lighter, and also probably something that neither of us have seen, because I do that to us. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Be seeing you all, and have a great night.